Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are connecting from. This is Enzo Aita from Hyperguest, and welcome you all to for a new episode of Hype, the live blog of travel, tech, and hospitality. Topic of the day is a little bit, interesting new perspective of understanding how revenue management has been approached so far from a different type of accommodation. So we are talking about vacation rental and trying to compare, how revenue versus hotels are, implementing those strategy in a different way or probably similarly. But let's be, curious. And if you have, questions during the live, feel free to post this on comment space in LinkedIn. Meanwhile, I'm going to introduce you guest speaker today. Guys, feel free to start to comments by posting from where you are tuning from. So hashtag your city, so just let us know the location you're sitting, and we will be happy to understand this audience where is connecting from. So it's going to be an interesting understanding of the audience target. So all right, so let me introduce you the speakers. So good afternoon, Jean and Daniel. So I leave the words to you guys so you can do your introduction. Maybe Danielle first.
Sure. Hi, greetings from Boston, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. My name is Danielle Barber. I'm the Director of Business Development for a company called B & Berry, headquartered in beautiful sunny Miami, Florida. We specialize in helping hotels maximize their revenue on the short-term rental platforms, Airbnb and Vrbo. And I have invited a good friend of mine and colleague, Jean, if you want to say a couple words.
Absolutely. My name is Gene Hagberg, Director of Leisure Travel based in sunny Florida. And I have been partnering with B & Berry now for a little while as a leisure account and seeing incredible impact to our hotels, which is Sonesta International Hotels.
It's actually, Gene, my first question for you is your background one of the Sonesta properties?
It is. It's actually our Graney Ranch property in Arizona.
Where is it? Where is it located? Sorry?
Arizona, Scottsdale.
Wow, it looks amazing. So this is definitely one of the places we should book, guys. If you are connecting and watching right now the live streaming, get in touch with Gene. Maybe he can provide you with some special offer. All right. So the conversation today, again, is going to be around revenue management and trying to understand the difference, way this is going to be approached from vacation rental and from the hotel. So my first question goes to both of you, basically. So what are the primary difference in revenue management approach between hotels and vacation rental? Maybe Danielle, you can start.
Sure. I was a hotelier for 25 years, and I'm, very passionate about distribution to all sorts of different channels. But what I've noticed specifically in the short-term rental platforms is I always recommend very, very simplistic rate plans, very simplistic yielding, no more than 2, 3, sometimes 4 rate plans feeding into these platforms, because you really can only attach one rate plan to one listing. And you don't want to ultimately compete against yourself. And Sonesta and Jean does this beautifully well in how they distribute on the short-term rental platforms.
Right. And from our perspective, it's really about rate or discount buckets based on compression, and to not, as Danielle said, rob Peter for Paul on other platforms. Essentially, though, for us, it's what the market will demand in a given destination. So we do the revenue tools that we have for the hotels a lot of times will yield out a rate bucket, and then it will fall to the next bucket, which is attached to profiles that B & Berry has curated for us. Enzo, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I'm on mute. So I was saying is in effect a little bit articulated, no, the difference, because in hotel in a single unit you have 100 rooms. differently from a single property. Once you have sold out the property, this is occupied. So having an understanding how can be this transformed into a dynamic pricing. So, but this is actually more for you, Daniel. Do you think that VR is taking place more like a price follower or a price leader? I mean,
No.
let's be honest. At some point, vacation rental hotels are quitting because in the same destination now, people can have a different type of accommodation alternative.
Absolutely. And you have
So,
to remember that guests are searching for the best accommodation in the destination that they're traveling to. So, to be honest with you, price is somewhat of a secondary thought process for the Airbnb and Vrbo users. They're really a little bit more hyper focused on ratings and reviews. And price, the price component of that is how you price in the market. You want to make sure that you are not the highest, certainly not the lowest, that you're priced appropriately in the market. It's a very secondary thought process with a lot of these guests. And you also need to remember too that there is a lot of algorithms that are tied to how you optimize on the short-term rental platforms, and price is one of them. I always recommend a very strong offer when you are newly listed so that you optimize really high to get those first clicks, to get those first bookings, and ultimately those first reviews.
I see. Jean, and as you're representing a very important organization, Sonesta, are you looking at vacation rentals in your competitive set? Do you have for some properties, configuration and looking at those prices also, or are you just focusing on versus hotels?
We are our comp set and our systems are set up only specifically for other hotels at this time. I don't know that information is out there for us to compete against vacation rental specifically, but I kind of want to backtrack a little bit to what Danielle said on Airbnb specifically. That as Airbnb being the second largest OTA, it really has such a loyal following, whether that person is looking for a campsite or an urban rental for the weekend, or maybe a luxury vacation getaway. So it's really about this being on the platform and the distribution on where those guests are shopping for us.
Well, did you know? No, some time ago, Airbnb acquired Hotel Tonight, which is a platform that was focusing primarily on short, close check-in date bookings. So if I'm not wrong, it was minimum 3 days, not longer than that. So and now Airbnb it's apparently building something that is actually put in the same marketplace of vacation rental and hotel. So what is your opinion on that, Daniel?
Go ahead, Jean.
So we've recently put our toe in that water because we've been approached by Hotel Tonight as a long-term partner. I'll speak for myself. On my evaluation right now, I think B&Berry does such an incredible process of profile curation, customer service, where Hotel Tonight puts the profile more into hotels' hands. And from what I've seen of other hotels that have tried to manage the Airbnb profile themselves, those profiles have not produced room nights. We've taken some of those same hotels as examples and put them on B&Berry, and those profiles outperform tenfold to anything a hotel has done directly at this point because of this, how they manage the process.
I see. So, let me understand the two difference here, hotels and vacation rentals, going a little bit more specific and more technical within the distribution segmentation. How do you approach segmentation, guys? Danielle, maybe you can start.
Segmentation, is unique and different. Here's what it comes down to is perishable inventory, right? So what rooms are you going down with tonight that you're not going to be able to unload or sell? And at this point, it's all about diversifying the distribution to make sure that you're reaching every type of guests that are using exclusive platforms. There's 150 million users a month just exclusively using Airbnb. So if you're not listed, and listing is the easy part, anybody can list on Airbnb. Are you optimizing? Are you visible? Are people going to find you in the first couple pages? That is the hard part. And the way that these platforms work for hotels, it's so unlike a traditional OTA. You can't pay to market here. You can't pay to place. This is all organic. This is all based on algorithms and guest feedback. And that's why they have such great, incredibly loyal guests that are using Airbnb.
Now, listen, and this is a curiosity because within the hotel space, in many years, and this is growing year over year, the relevance of increasing, direct bookings, is becoming something actually super important, because if you are able to implement a correct strategy, doing the right investments, actually you are able to acquire customers at a lower cost compared to an average commission on a standard OTA. But in the hotel space, it's much easier, I assume, because there is a famous, process which we define billboard effect. So you go on a marketplace like Expedia, Booking, you find the right property, the right hotel, and then you copy paste the name of the hotel associated to the destination. You can easily reach to the official website of the same property and try to compare the price. If I can book directly, it's cheaper. If I book through booking.com, it's cheaper, whatever, then, you have an easy way to compare direct versus, intermediate booking. Within the vacation rental space, I've seen that this is very hard to apply because in many cases, the villa, the property, they have defined with different names in each platform for some reason. So it's very hard to create this billboard effect, copy paste the name of the villas and find the official website. So how relevant is in the vacation rental direct booking? And if this type of distribution segmentation is becoming relevant and growing in the last few years?
So let's face it, 60% of Airbnb users are millennials. They are very comfortable on their Airbnb application on their mobile phones. And maybe they recognize the hotel. Maybe it's a famous facade and they know what hotel it is. Most likely, they're not going to jump off the application and go and search direct. Again, I think price is a little bit of a secondary thought process. They're going to finish that transaction right on the application. We have done some A/B testing where we have opaque listings versus, this is hotel A. I really can't see. There's no way for us to track how many Airbnb or Vrbo guests find your hotel based on a B&Berry listing. But it is very, very low if I were willing to bet.
Well, different from Eugene, I think, right? So Nesta, it's also applying for a loyalty program and so on. So I can imagine that direct booking for you guys is becoming one of the primary channel, no?
Sorry, I'm just processing your question a little bit, because when you actually see one of our listings, you wouldn't know a name of a property or anything also on Airbnb. So there is no direct correlation. That the guest doesn't necessarily know that they're booking the Rainy Ranch Sonesta until shortly prior to arrival. So it really is about the curated profile, what's available in the profile, and does it fit their needs from accommodations.
Most of our listings are opaque, right, to what Gene's saying. It's clearly stated this is a hotel at this location, but it doesn't necessarily disclose the hotel's name.
And it discloses the hotel's policies and everything too. So,
got it. So so in the hotel space, we know that each type of product, destination, reason of travel becoming, it's giving a different way to approach revenue management, right? So if you are a resort, if you're a city hotel, and so on, how this is, considered within the vacation rental space, Danielle? I mean, the approach, I think you have a different approach, right? Depending on the product, the type of...
For sure. I mean, we work with our hotel partners on rate strategies. And again, we try to be as simplistic as possible. But it's so much more than just rate strategies. It's simple marketing and making sure that you're getting credit for every amenity that you have on site. And I always use air conditioning as my example is I'm going to Florida. I'm not going to book anything without air conditioning, right? And so I'm going to apply a filter that says I want Florida with air conditioning. 99% of the accommodations in Florida likely have air conditioning. But if the hotel neglects to acknowledge that, they won't come up in the query. And so it's just so important that you're utilizing not just rate strategies, but marketing, good old marketing. You have an opportunity to market each one of your room types, not just your entire property. Each room type you can market to different target audiences, and making sure that you're rotating out content and images and photos. It is a lot more work than just turning on a traditional OTA channel, which is why brands and management companies and individual hotels love to partner with people like B&Berry, because we're going to do the majority of that work for you. We're going to at least teach you and give you some of our expertise on how to really maximize production. Some of Gene's properties are seeing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month in production, and it's pretty good. You would not capture these guests ordinarily if you're not listed and optimized on these platforms.
I see. That's great. Gene, how do you see this coexistence between hotels and vacation rental?
How do
More
I see
a competition or more a competition?
So it's interesting because I've had a lot of these conversations with several of our properties. I personally just see it as the market for any given destination. It's about compression in that market. I will be frank that some of our hotels sees it as very direct competition, depending if it's in a city that's especially had a very public conversation about Airbnb. But as a whole, I really go back to it's a platform that a generation and specific guests utilize as their sole platform. And we want to be in front of those guests. It's just like, do you want to sell at Walmart and Amazon? You want to make sure your product is available on both platforms.
Correct. And this question is coming just because I was curious about your situation in US. Here in Europe, we talk about lately in over tourism, right? Because everyone now, and especially in the city, top city like, I don't know, Rome, London, Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, this type of alternative accommodation. So you have many hotels in one hand and growing the number of vacation rental apartments and so on. And in effect, many people are moving outside the city to live because they have no more space to stay in the town for different reasons. No space, high price, and so on. And now old citizens are claiming, this over tourism trends. In the last couple of years, this is growing more and more. I don't know in US, is this happening also in US?
It has happened in some of our key cities, absolutely, which is what spurred those conversations, very public conversations. And there's been litigation passed. I think New York is a great example of that, on how they manage those listings and what's available. What's interesting is that's a great opportunity for hoteliers, because platforms like Airbnb need more inventory in those cities where the inventory has been limited. So once again, why would we not be there? As ever once in a while, we do come across an owner, because we have a large franchise base too. That's like, oh, we don't want to be on Airbnb. They're not our friend. They're the competition. But what they lack to understand is they are already at TOT paying property. Why would we not want to be on their platform as an opportunity to leverage our profile and our brand?
Got it. Last but not least, before we close, I would like to understand the relationship between B&Berry and Sonesta, Daniel. So what is your collaboration with Sonesta? What you are providing for them?
Yeah, I mean, what we do is we work with Sonesta. Gene and I work very closely to identifying properties and destinations that need inventory, like you said, properties that need some help with heads and beds, right? We onboarded the majority of the managed properties, and now we're working on the franchise properties. And as those ownership groups want to opt into this distribution, we work with Gene and we do the mapping and set them up. We create the listings on behalf of the hotel. And then we work very closely from an account management standpoint. He and I work together very much, going over review scores, going over pricing strategies, making sure that properties are pushing promotions to this distribution. That's a lot of times I don't see that happening. Typically that's tied to a minimum length of stay in my expertise. Going back to some of the properties and getting better content, sometimes simple things like that. Upgrading the content, making sure that renovated images make it onto the listings. And some properties it doesn't work for. It doesn't work for every single property. I think Gene would agree. And that's our partnership. I'd say we probably have 30% of Sonesta's portfolio live today. Ballpark.
Yeah, I'm just sharing your website. So if people are watching and interested to get to know more about the way you support, accommodation providers, this is the website, bmberry.com.
Yeah, we work with all brands. We work with all management companies. We work with independent boutique hotels. We work with traditional box hotels. We work with luxury villas and everything in between. There, like Gina mentioned earlier, there are guests looking for all different types of accommodations. We work with campgrounds. There is a little bit of a vetting process that we've kind of discovered in our decade long in the business. And it's working beautifully well. There's nothing that really exists in the marketplace like this. We consider ourselves subject matters expertise when it comes to Airbnb and Vrbo.
All right. So thanks, guys. That's all. I wanted just to have this big conversation with you and share the thoughts with our audience. Thanks, Jean, for your participation. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank
Hope
you.
to have you on stage in our future episodes. And I wish everyone a great afternoon.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.